Here we are at Fuller, Sacramento, and class is in session. We actually just finished our last Saturday version of this class, the in-person version of this class. And if you've never been to this facility in northwestern Sacramento, in the Otoma neighborhood of Sacramento, it's out by the Sleep Train Arena. It used to be the Arco Arena. I think that's where the Kings play basketball. And it's a beautiful facility, and there's a whole variety of types of seating. You can have the easy chairs, or you can, be the A students sitting in the front and center, the more conventional tables, or the high-styled tables. Different kinds of seating for everyone. This was a small worship exercise that we did. This was an honoring of ancestors, and so we gave each person a slip of paper. We asked them to write the name of an ancestor, and that's my uncle, Jason Yee. And so we had some people stand up here, and they shared the name of their ancestor, and a little story about that ancestor and why they wanted us to honor that ancestor. So this is my uncle, Jason Yee. He was the first Christian in my family. And I honor Jason Yee, and then everyone responds, we honor Jason Yee. And we all put our slips here. And at the end, I lifted up this bowl and offered a prayer of dedication to ourselves, to live our lives gratefully and in a way that would honor the lives and especially sacrifices of some of these ancestors. And, it's an little Asian American flavored worship experience. And it emphasizes the importance of the collective. In some cultures, our identity is primarily rooted in the individual. Of course, American culture is very famous about that. We're a very individual-centered culture where, to move across country to pursue some job or whatever, that's a perfectly understandable and accepted thing to do. The individual is even the object of a lot of our evangelism. We want people to make that individual choice to place faith in Jesus, and that's certainly a good thing. But we don't talk so much about the family, making a choice, or making a choice to evangelize the family as a whole. By the way, here's our free books. Ha ha ha. Cleaning out the shelves here at Sacramento. So primary identity, individual or collective. Some of you know in some cultures, like in Chinese culture, the family name goes first. Here we have, Gene Getz. Hey, there's Gene. I had him at Dallas Seminary. And it's Gene Getz. Family name is Getz, right? Goes last. If this were a Chinese book, the family name would go first because the family is more important than individual. That's the first thing you want to know, the family name. Distribution of authority. This is comfort with power distance. So the people in charge, how differently are they treated? Do they, a worship setting, can you tell who's in charge just by looking around? Are they dressed any differently? Do people refer to them differently with a title, perhaps? Or is everyone on first name basis? Of course, out here in California, we're kind of famous for our pretty egalitarian culture. And some of this is from like Silicon Valley, where even the CEO of a high-tech firm might not have a reserved parking space because everyone's equal. And what matters is your ideas and your work, not your title or your tenure even. In other cultures, all that really matters. Those people in charge are treated with greater honor, with titles and privileges and respect. We had a story in class just this afternoon about how this works out in settings where different cultures have a different approach to volunteering for leadership positions. And so a situation where, there's opportunities to take charge of different ministry initiatives. And some people from some cultures are just perfectly happy to raise their hands and say, well, I've got some things I can bring to that. I can take that, and just take that initiative themselves because their sense of power distance is low. So they have the right and the ability to initiate that leadership initiative by themselves, that choice. Whereas in other cultures where the power distance is higher, where the sense of hierarchy is higher, you don't just volunteer for something like that. Somebody has to invite you. Somebody in a higher up needs to make that choice because the power distance needs to be respected. The individual can't just exercise that power by herself or himself. So comfort with power distance. Importance of context. That's the question of whether it matters. The things that aren't spoken matter. Even before anyone opens their mouth, does it matter who that person is, where they came from, what their title is, where they were educated, what school, what family they're from, their pedigree. How much does context matters? Or does it just matter the words that come out of their mouth? It doesn't matter who they are. It just matters what they say. That would be a low context culture. Primary task of living and sense of time, those kind of go together. In our modern Western culture, of course, we are time-starved, right? We live in a time famine, it seems like, and never enough time to watch those videos for class, right? And so we always have a long checklist of things to do. The getting things done guy, right? He says most people, getting things done guy says most people, if you sat down and wrote down everything that they have on their to-do list, every little thing, domestic thing, work thing, family thing, everything, every card they need to write to somebody, everything they need to do for the car, every task. Most of us have at least a couple of hundred things, on our to-do list. Very task-oriented, and sense of time is always limited. Look at all these books. Who's got time to read all these books? In other cultures, the emphasis is more on being, and the sense of time is abundant. I have cousins in Hawaii that tell me, a get-together, a luau on the beach is like this. It doesn't really have a start time or an end time, it's just, we're going to have a luau on Saturday, and, in the course of Saturday, sooner or later, everyone will have been there, and we would have all had a good time, but, it's not this tight sense of limited time, just task-oriented. Here's Linnea's office. Aha. Oh, look, she left her monitors on. She's great. Very, very effective program manager. There's lots to do, right? Very highly effective task-oriented, I'm sure, staffer. Worldview. So in pre-modern worldview settings, or generations that are more pre-modern in their worldview, the recognized authority says what's right or wrong. So if the pastor says it, then it's true. If the pastor says this is what the Bible says, then it's true. In a modern worldview, you would depend on evidence, right? So like I grew up with a modern worldview approach to evangelism, where if I give you enough reasons, then of course you have to believe, because this is why Jesus had to have risen from the dead bodily, and so on, so on. Very modern, evidential, scientific worldview. There's Brad's, our director's office, very tidy. I envy people with tidy offices. And then there's postmodern, which you're familiar with. A postmodern worldview says there is no objective truth. Truth just depends on your own individual experience. What's true for you is not necessarily true for me. There's no one meta-narrative that we all have to fit ourselves into. We each have the right to have our own meta-narrative by which we interpret our experience. Okay, in different relationships, one thing to avoid is misattribution. Misattribution is when I see you do something and I attribute a motive or a meaning to it coming out of my culture that is actually not true because of your culture. So a classic example is eye contact. In American culture, we want kids to look us in the eye when we talk to them, right? If they look away, then that's a sign of disrespect, a sign of they're not really listening. Whereas in other cultures, if a kid looks you in the eye, that's almost like it's exactly the opposite. It's disrespect. It's challenging you. It's being arrogant and confrontational. And so, depending on which culture that kid came from, it could be very confusing. Sometimes we internalize other people's misattributions. So as an Asian American, so Confucius, bred into us that it's important to be deferential and to be reserved. This is one of the reasons why Asians seem inscrutable, right? Because they are, Confucian culture teaches you to not just speak up. You look at the situation, you take a long time to try to understand the situation, to try to understand where different people are coming from, and you don't just offer your view. You generally say less than you know. You say less than you know in a Confucian culture, whereas in an American and Western culture, it's perfectly fine to actually say more than you know. To have an opinion. It's more important to have an opinion than to really know, right? So an Asian American might be perceived as being inscrutable, being too reserved, not taking initiative, not speaking up, and that person could actually internalize that misattribution. That, I really don't speak up. Really, I never have an opinion. I'm not confident. I don't know how to, to make a difference, and that would be unfortunate. Of course, in American culture, I think we all need to meet each other somewhere in the middle. That's part of being an American. We can't just say, well, that's the way my culture is. No, we have to learn how to get along, and that includes bending. That includes teaching the Asian American kids. Sometimes you have to just raise your hand and speak up. And teaching majority culture kids, sometimes you just have to not say what you think, and simply listen to others. What can we say about different cultures? If we try to make any kind of generalization, is that stereotyping? Well, it can be, but it can also not be. It's not if it stays in the realm of archetype, not stereotype. So an archetype is grounded in the perspective of the person being described. So, if somebody's going to say something about Asian American culture, have you talked to an Asian American? Let's let them talk first. Let's not just assume that what we see from the outside is what we think it is, right? So to ground that perspective in the actual lives of the person being described, whether it's directly from them or after talking to someone from that group or culture. Helpfully descriptive without being restrictive or limiting or categorical or self-certain or unqualified. All Asians are bad drivers. All Asians are, never speak up. You don't want to be categorical like that because, of course, that's not true. It's a whole continuum. And even among Asian Americans, of course, there's different people groups with different cultures, and the Koreans are not the same as Chinese, are not the same as the Japanese, and so forth. Not primarily accusative, devaluing, or dismissive. So a stereotype is usually a put-down. Basically, you're saying this is the way those people are, and that's bad, right? And so an archetype is saying that's the way this is one way that some people in that group tend to be because of these particular reasons, and there are good reasons why they do that, but these other people are different, and so on and so forth. So you're not primarily trying to be dismissive or devaluing as you would be in a stereotype, but simply trying to understand and trying to get some sense of the way a culture is. So those are some cultural lenses, and as different people come into your worship setting, they will bring these different senses of these different aspects of culture, and these definitely will affect your worship. Something like primary task of living, is it doing or is it being? Sense of time, limited or abundant. This determines whether you start worship on time, right? Are we task oriented? We start on time because this needs to start and end, on time. Or is it more important that we're being? Is being more important? Therefore, it's more important to wait till everyone's there, and it doesn't matter if we start right on the hour because time is abundant. It's not this limited, tight, scarce thing that we have to ration very carefully, and so forth. So as you think about your worship settings, as you think about your own culture and other cultures, perhaps some of these lenses can help you.